Okay, I will start by telling some information, or you can say notes about the controllers and application in general. So, uh, what we usually do. So, for each entity in your database, for example, users, posts, comments, whatever. So here I have a users folder. I was testing something. So for each entity, you create a controller to map the routes to the entity. So these routes, for each route you will map in the controller, it will correspond to the service call to the service. So I have users controller and I have a user service. And to tie everything together, I will have a user module will import the user controller and the user service. And this module I will import it inside the app module. So my application will be I will split it into a set of modules. So it's like a small Lego pieces, and in the end, I will all of them. I will combine them inside the module. So this makes our application easier to understand, at least in my opinion. So as you can see in the app module, I have a controller array inside the module function, the decorator. It's a function, but decorator. Controllers is an array of controllers. Providers is an array of services. There's another types of providers as well. And imports will have another modules, for example, and another things, but usually modules. So for example, a user module which imports controllers and provide a services on its own. Okay. So this is this is how we usually will do our applications. So let's just talk a little bit about controllers. So this controller calls I will keep this open. This controller calls the get hello function from the app service, and this returns a string. I'm still running ngrok, so this is my link. It got hit, so this is the response. Hello world. So this is I think this is a little bit different behavior than other frameworks. Most of the frameworks they just assume that you will return a JSON. So if you want to return something else, you will create a custom middleware for it. But in Nest.js, actually, they will test that the framework itself will check the type of the data gets returned, and based on that, it will try to serialize it, which means convert it to JSON. So it's a string, so it won't convert it to JSON. It will return it as it is. Actually, quick note, string, number, and boolean, Nest will return them as they are, which I think in the HTTP world, they all will be converted into strings. But yeah, Nest won't serialize it. But if you return other data, if you return data structures like array, objects, whatever, it will try to serialize it. Okay? And by default, the status is 200 for each request you will do. So for example, here, I think, yeah, the status is 200. You can change that, by the way. So yeah, I think the first thing I might do, which always comes up in my mind when I see a new framework, how I can get the dynamic params in the URL. So for example, I will go into the link /user/the ID. So how I can do that? I want the ID to be dynamic. I want to access it. Sorry. Okay. I think the fastest thing to do it in Nest. So in the app controller, here I will modify the get decorator. I will add colon, then the name of the parameter I will pass to it. So I will name it an ID. And how to get it inside the function itself. So add params. So let's just remove the service for now. I want to use it. I will just return things directly from the controller. So hi, I will add params.id. So let's see how this will work. So this is the base URL for us. Now, since we added this, okay, the controller does not provide a URL, a link to map for, so it will behave on the root URL. And then we have a get decorator, which accepts only a parameter with only a parameter, which we will call it an ID. So I think if I didn't change anything in the URL and hit send, I won't get anything, or at least an error. Yes, 404. Since this function wants a link which ends with a parameter as an ID. So how to do that? So this, I think this like this. See, so the complete URL is the URL itself slash the ID. So anything like this. Yeah. So this is how to get a dynamic URL. But for example, have a user's entity. So how to, or yeah, I think yeah, it's a good example. So each entity will start from the root URL, then slash the name of the entity, then I have the get request, the post request, the read, the bot. So usually how the controllers will look like. So I have a post decorator with, I will just copy paste just to show you how our general structure will be. So this will be called, for example, create. I will show you how to get the body. To get the body, you add this decorator as well. So this is how we get the body. Okay. I will remove this. So the add delete. I keep adding curly braces. And add delete, I need to import it as well. Yeah, I have it. Okay. Sometimes this happens. So let's say return a string, return deleted. And usually you would delete it by knowing the ID for it. Okay. And we have also get and put, but the same idea. So this is, you know, I will just put. They won't usually return a string. Put will return the updated the record and delete as well. Post they will return the new one. Get we will usually, I will show you. I'll just write everything. I will just show you how usually the controller will look like. And I think they have a package that do all of this by default. You just need to define some things for it. I think I'm not sure. I will check if they do have that. I will use it in the rest of the videos because it's better. I think all frameworks does have this. They called like resource control or something like this. So the port will return anything, doesn't matter. But you also need the ID here. You will have another get, which will maybe return everything. Get, of course, paginated, of course. Maybe here we'll have a get params with search, like if you add where in the URL, where ID equal 1, where name like something. I will also implement this, but this is how usually the controllers will look like. One for getting a specific record with an ID, one for getting all of them paginated, also for search reasons, one to create a record, one to delete a record which requires an ID, one to put a record. So if most of them looks like this, of course we need to distinguish between them. So a way to, there is a good way to prefix the controller routes these with something. We can just add here a prefix for them. So let's say, for example, this is the app prefix, the app controller, which starts with the app prefix. So if I run, okay, I saved everything. I have a prettier, that's why these got split to multiple lines, which will just format the code for me. I highly recommend this extension. Okay, so this route, it won't work anymore, since the only routes I have, they are prefixed with the app keyword. So this will work. Go to the link /app/the ID. This and it's a get request. I have it here, get request. This will activate this function. I'll just type get, and here, so we can see get all. Here, created. Here, deleted. Here, put. Okay. And don't forget, since I used npm run start dev, it will recompile and map all these. So yeah, we can actually see it here. They are mapped. Okay. So after I add this, the prefix and the route for this function, I will get then exclamation mark. Get all. If I only remove the /1, this will get, for example, all of the data. So get all. Created. So created will be the same URL, but I will convert the method to post. Here we can actually define the body and the content type. Anyway, but this just I will show. I said in real that Nest.js usually retain the boolean. Not usually, it will retain the boolean and the string and the number as they are, but it will serialize the data structures. So I will return an array with 1, 2, 3, with 1 and 2 and 3. Doesn't matter. So here I will change the return type to array of numbers. Yeah, I think it wants, TSLint wants me to use the syntax. Yeah. So okay. Now, let's for example, I posted a record. Does it matter? Yeah, it posted a record. I will return, the nest will return this array. Since a post request prefix with this URL will trigger this function. So a delete request, it needs to be of type delete, and it will need, so this won't work. This is will return 404. This route does not exist. It exists only if you have a param ID for it. So yeah, deleted. I will show you how we can validate this param. So if it's an integer or a string, whatever your choice of doing this, I will show you. This then at the end is put. Yeah, the same thing. So I need ID here. Put. Yeah, and I show you how we can access the using the params decorator, how we can access these. Yeah, I think this is a good way to show you how controllers will look like usually. I know this might sound really basic and like I wasted my time and your time, but I think it's useful for some of people to know these. And yeah, done.